I'm about to make you look like a rock star in the kitchen. Making homemade French bread seems like a huge, daunting prospect, and it's not. It's just 5 ingredients. It takes a few minutes to throw together, a couple hours to wait on it, throw it in the oven, and it looks like you're brilliant. So I'm going to show you how to be brilliant. Now down here in my mixer, all I have is a cup of warm water and just about a tablespoon of yeast. Now I buy yeast in bulk and I keep it in my refrigerator, but if you want to, you just use a packet of yeast, one little packet, that's it. Now to this, I've got 2 tablespoons of white sugar, and the sugar feeds the yeast. I have about half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Salt is just for flavor. You need salt in baked goods like you do anything else. It makes everything taste more like itself. Now be careful with the salt though, because the salt will make the yeast stop growing, just like the sugar will encourage it. So all I'm going to do, this is ridiculous, it's easy. All I'm going to do is let the mixer do the work for me. I'm going to let it mix this up. And I'm going to use about 3 cups of flour. And I say about because you never know exactly what it's going to take to make the bread come together. Flour, think of it like a little sponge. Flour will absorb moisture from the air, and its absorbency, how much it will take up from your bread dough, also depends on the weather outside and barometric pressure and how long it sat on the grocery store shelf and the harmonious convergence of Pluto. I don't know. There's all kinds of things that go into how much exactly of the flour that you'll need for the bread dough. It doesn't matter. What you're going to look for is a certain texture and feel to the dough. And I'm going to show you that. So in this case, I've made a couple batches already this morning. And I know that my bread right now is taking 3 cups of flour. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'll be back in just a second to show you what it looks like when it comes together and show you when to start kneading the dough. I love this. All right, you can do all of this by hand. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing it by hand. I just happen to have this great mixer with the dough hook attachment, and I love how it does the work for me. I have little bitty hands. Sometimes I get tired. Now you see how the dough has come together? I used exactly 3 cups of flour to my cup of water, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and half a teaspoon of salt with a tablespoon of yeast. That's it. Now, the dough hook and the mixer are doing the work for me. You see how it's pulled the dough all together, and I haven't touched it. Pulled it all together, it's pulled it away from the sides. About the only thing you might need to do, for some reason the sticky stuff gets up here at the top of the dough hook and doesn't want to release and get mixed in. So that might, there you go, that might be your big, see? And you see how it's pulling away from the sides of the bowl and it's turning into a ball? One thing that is showing me I might want just a little bit more flour in this particular batch. You see how it is not fully incorporated? What's stuck to the bottom is staying there instead of becoming one with what's on the dough hook. Let me show you that. See that? You want it to come apart in one piece. If it's like this, if it's sticking to your hands like that, it's still too sticky. So I'm going to stick another half, maybe a third of a cup of flour in here. I'm going to let that incorporate, and we'll see how we're doing. The cool thing about bread is it's not so much as a recipe as a ratio. There's a classic baker's ratio. You need 3 parts of flour to 3 parts of water, and that'll give you bread. Now there's a lot of other things that you might want to do. You want a little salt for flavor, you want a little sugar to mellow the other flavors out, you have to have yeast to make it rise, but you have a basic ratio. And that's what I've used with my 1 cup of water and my 3 cups of flour here. Now what the baker's ratio won't call for, or won't encompass, is how absorbent your flour is. And that's what you have to watch for. But that's why I'm showing you what to look for here. Alright, we're working. I'll be back in a second. Alright, apparently a minute ago I said that the baker's ratio was 3 to 3. That's not it. The baker's ratio is 5 to 3. You would use 5 parts flour and 2 parts water. So in this case it translates to a cup of water and 3 cups of flour. However, I ended up using about another third of a cup. So my total for this batch was 3 2/3 cups of flour. Earlier this morning, I made batches that was exactly 3. It doesn't really matter. The only difference I know is it got warmer, the sun came out, and it's really getting beautiful outside. So this is what we're looking for. See how it's completely in one piece? It has pulled away from the sides. Oh, here we go. You see this? It's not near as sticky. I mean, yeah, it's dough. It's going to give you a little bit of sticky, but it's not clinging in big chunks to my fingers like it was just a minute ago. So I'm going to put him down in here. I'm going to let this knead for about another 5 minutes. There is a very smooth and elastic texture that you're looking for, and I'll be back to show you exactly what it is. This is what you're looking for. If you get this, it doesn't matter how much flour. You want this texture. Okay. See how that's gotten really smooth and elastic? See that? That's what's going to give you the lift and the chewiness and make the inside of the French bread just heavenly. So all I have here is a bowl that I've drizzled a little olive oil into. You don't need much, about a tablespoon, I guess. And I'm going to plop him down in there. Here we go. And roll it around. And now he's just going to go and park in a warm spot. I'm going to stick a little lid on that. You don't want to seal it up tight. You can use plastic wrap. You can use just a towel over the top of it. And it's going to double in size, okay? Now, don't move. Don't move. I love this. Ta-da! I had one right. All right, he's already doubled in size, so we're going to punch it down. And punching down is exactly what it sounds like. You're just going to whap him. You want to release the air that the yeast has produced inside the bread. Each time it rises, the flavor gets a little more rich, a little more developed. Okay? So he's going to sit here. See that? And we'll be back when one of them's ready for the next step. All right, we just punched our dough down for the second time. What you want is a total of 2 rises out of your bread, okay? So what I did a few minutes ago, it goes in the oiled bowl, it doubles in size, you punch it down, it doubles in size, you punch it down. This is right after the second rise. I'm going to show you a couple of different shapes for French bread, but this might be the all-time classic. It's a boulet, B-O-U-U-L-E, with a santé pu on the end. Never mind. Alright, so all you're doing is make it, see, he's a little ball. That's it. And down here, this is just a handful of cornmeal that you throw in the bottom of the pan. All it does is keep your bread from sticking, okay? So he comes here. Now, the last time it took an hour to an hour and a half each time for the bread to rise. And again, that's going to depend on the temperature of your kitchen and the weather outside and all kinds of different things. Mainly the temperature of your kitchen. This time, we're only going to let it rise for a little bit. He's not going to go completely double. So maybe 10 or 15 minutes, I'll be back and we'll stick it in the oven. And that'll show you where the real magic for French bread happens.